what names will be joining or potentially rejoining the Patriots in the 2019 season. I'm Alex Barth. He's Evan Lazar. This is the Fox Bear Report, brought to you by 1 in 100. For Celtics tickets for the price of an ice-cold beer, visit clnsmedia.com/Celtics raffle to enter today through 1in100.co. Evan, when you talk about the Patriots free agency, the big names are on the line, but if you want to talk about the mass exodus, it's coming at the pass catcher position. Where you have 3 wide receivers, expiring contracts, Rob Gronkowski potentially retiring.
Right, Dwayne Allen potentially getting cut.
Right, the Patriots are going to need to load up on pass catchers, get Tom Brady some new weapons entering 2019. Luckily for the Patriots, that's a position where there's a lot of names available, or going to be available
There's
this
a lot
March.
of names in free agency, and there's a ton of names in the draft. This draft is one of the better wide receiver drafts. Not necessarily like you're going to get a Julio Jones or an A.J. Green,
but depth.
But there's depth. There's about 20 guys, I think, that could be potential NFL starters down the road. So it's a very good draft. It's a very good free agent pool. I think that actually hurts the free agents, because I think that the people that need a wide receiver are going to say, well, why would I pay, let's say, Golden Tate $10, $11 million a year when I could go draft a guy in the second round that might be just as good as Golden Tate in a year or two?
So cue Bill Belichick sliding in and getting some guys on affordable contracts here.
Good transition.
What are the names to look at?
So there's a laundry list of names. I think the Patriots have shown interest in Demaryius Thomas in the past. He's going to be on their radar. It's all going to be a matter of price tag. If they can get him in the building for a nice enough deal, then he could be here. Golden Tate's another one who I think really fits the system well. I think we'd all like to see Golden Tate here in New England, but I think that he's a guy that probably has earned a little bit too much money. Both of those guys, I think, are looking at deals maybe in the $8 to $10 million range.
You think Demaryius
Thomas?
You think Demaryius Thomas is looking at a similar contract to Golden Tate?
Yeah, I do, because I think Golden Tate has proven that he can play a little bit more later on in his career than Demaryius, but Demaryius' upside, I think, is a little bit higher as an outside threat.
Thomas is coming off a rough year. He's coming off an injury, a pretty bad
injury. The injury is a factor.
I would pay Golden Tate more than I would pay Demaryius Thomas.
I think that he'll probably end up making more in the open market, Golden Tate. The other kind of like under the radar guys, the biggest one's going to be Adam Humphries. Everybody is going to say Adam Humphries. Adam Humphries, to me, is Chris Hogan on steroids. Like, he's a little bit better version of Chris.
Not literally, just to be clear.
Chris Hogan plus, let's say that, right? I think he's a little bit better than Chris Hogan. He's obviously had a little bit better production in his career than Chris Hogan. He had like 850 yards or something like that this past year for Tampa. The biggest thing I have with Adam Humphries is he spends 80% of the time in the slot. The Patriots need a guy that's going to win on the perimeter, not in the slot. Maybe if you're looking for Julian Edelman insurance and kind of having that two-headed monster that they have with Danny Amendola, Humphries is a good fit, but he doesn't really play much on the perimeter, doesn't have a ton of experience like Chris Hogan, who had experience playing from different alignments.
Hold on, because you just said a name, Danny Amendola, and that's obviously drawn a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, that one I think is going to come up. It's going to come down to whether or not they can put their egos aside from what happened last offseason with Amendola taking shots at Belichick. The Patriots probably lowballing Amendola. The biggest thing is that the Patriots have a number for Danny Amendola. They have set that price, and it's probably going to be a similar price set for what Chris Hogan's going to get offered by the Patriots too. We're talking in that $3 to $4.5 million range, I would say, where they're going to say take it or leave it, right? If you want this contract, it's here for you. But if you don't want this contract, go shop yourself and go elsewhere. Amendola was able to find it in Miami. Maybe Chris Hogan can find it someplace else too.
Maybe if the Patriots want Danny Amendola back, they need to get, like, say, Deion Branch in his ear, and because they went down this road with Deion.
It's a price, right?
And they got him back.
They're just going to say, listen, we have already allocated the funds for that receiver spot on the depth chart. We're not going to pay you more than Julian, obviously. You know, he's our number 1. We're going to pay our number 2 X amount. We're going to pay our number 3 Y amount. You slot into that 2 or 3 mold. This is where we have you. Take it or leave it.
What do you think the odds are we end up in a situation like last summer where it was a revolving door at wide receiver, really from camp through October, where you had Kenny Britt come through, Eric Decker come through, Paul Turner. I know I'm missing one or two other big names. Jordan Matthews. What do you think the odds are we see a similar situation?
I think pretty high. I think what's going to happen is that they're going to draft at least 1, maybe even 2 guys.
I think this is a problem they're going to have to attack from multiple angles. Whoever they sign in free agency, I think there'll be a draft pick as well.
Right. So I think you're going to have 3 or 4 guys that will be roster locks, and that 5th position is going to be that Jordan Matthews, Eric Decker revolving door until they find somebody that sticks. Or if they find somebody like a Philip Dorsett or Chris Hogan that's willing to take a lot less than they probably were hoping for to come back.
All right, any names at other positions we should be focused on?
Well, I think at the tight end position, it's an interesting one because, again, it's kind of similar to the wide receiver position in the draft, where this is one of the most loaded tight end drafts that you've ever seen in the last decade, probably. So there. Free agent tight ends, why would you pay a free agent tight end? That's going to be the mindset when you have a guy that you could draft on day 3 in the 4th or 5th round that's probably just as good as Jared Cook is right now. Well, that's what Belichick likes to do, right? He kind of likes to sneak in there and find when everybody's zigging, he zags. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after a guy like a Jared Cook, who is probably only going to demand $4 or $5 million bucks. And they say, all right, everybody else, you go draft your Noah Fonts and TJ Hawkinsons and all those guys at the first round tight end position. I'm going to take this guy for $4 or $5 million bucks. Maybe we grab a guy in the 5th or the 6th round like they did with Ryan Izzo in the 7th round last year, and you guys, spend all your early draft capital on a position that really isn't a, franchise position. You talk about the franchise positions, tight end is certainly not one of them.
How about on defense? The Patriots defense for the most part is going to stay together, but Trey Flowers, possibly Devin McCourty out the door. There are going to be spots they have to fill.
So there's always that one guy that's under the radar that Patriots sign that maybe you haven't heard of, but it's kind of one of those high motor guys that people kind of get attention. Adrian Claiborne, Jabal Sheard, those types of guys. Henry Anderson, who played for the Jets last year, was drafted by the Colts in the 3rd round, had 48 total pressures for the Jets last year, 7 sacks. He's one of those guys. He's a big 3-4 defensive end. You can also kick him inside in sub packages and have him play some D tackle. He's a perfect Patriots fit, right? He's kind of scheme versatile. He's a guy that's just going to get after the quarterback. He's not going to be flashy, but he's going to push the pocket. He's going to do his responsibilities. I think that he's a nice little free agent pickup that they really don't have to pay a ton to kind of give that Adrian Claiborne contract to, kind of $5-6 million. And I know people are going to go crazy if they don't sign Trey Flowers, and Henry Anderson is kind of the answer, but he's kind of sneakily will give you maybe 65-60% of what Trey Flowers gave you.
And people said that about Trey Flowers when they let Chandler Jones go, like I mentioned in an earlier video in this series, and now all of a sudden nobody wants Trey Flowers to leave. So just think if they'd hung on to Chandler Jones
Trey Flowers
and let Trey Flowers
somewhere
go.
Around, I think, 70 pressures this year, and Henry Anderson had 48. It's not like it was a huge...
It's not a major drop-off, right.
So you're looking at something like 65% of the production for one player versus the other, but you're going to pay Trey Flowers $16 million where Henry Anderson's only going to demand $5 million.
All right. Is there anybody you want to see the Patriots go after in free agency that we did not mention? Let us know in the comments down below or on Twitter at Patriots CLNS. This edition of the Offseason Foxborough Report has been brought to you by 1 in 100. For Celtics tickets for the price of an ice-cold beer, visit clnsmedia.com/Celtics raffle today. For Evan Lazar, I'm Alex Barth from Gillette Stadium. Thanks for watching.